I'm Neville Marten from Guitarist magazine.
And I'm Richard Barrett.
Welcome to another Tone Lounge. We're looking at some Vox guitars today. The two that we have here are both Bobcats. Quite interesting, isn't it, the history of Vox? People don't realise, some people don't realise they did make guitars in the 60s.
Absolutely, and electronically speaking, they were pretty out there.
They were. I mean, they built things like the organ guitar, and they were demonstrating with effects built into guitars way back then.
Yeah,
so they were always. I mean, Brian Jones from the Stones used them. Tony Hicks from the Hollies played the Phantom 12 string. So they were pretty up there guitars in the 60s. And what Vox had tried to do with these is to hark back a little bit to those guitars.
Yes, and I was going to say, to an era where everything wasn't quite so set in stone.
No.
You know, we were talking earlier, and now you've got humbucker or a single coil perhaps, or a P90, and these don't really fall in squarely into any of those.
No, they don't. And back in the day, everybody made a pickup their own shape and their own design.
Yeah.
Now there tends to be one or two people who make their own, and then they're all that standard humbucker or standard single coil. We know what those are.
Yes.
But these are both interesting because they've both got. We'll talk about the pickups in a minute, but constructionally they're fairly typical.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, what are we looking at? Laminated maple.
Yeah, with a mahogany neck.
Yes, ebony boards.
Ebony boards. So it's good classic kind of stuff. They've got a centre block, like many other guitars in this kind of style. This is spruce, though, not maple, as you get in a 335. Plus, they're also weight relieved. You can see it gets narrower in here. It's quite wide to fit the bridge on there. So quite interesting. And electronics-wise, they're a little bit more unusual, aren't they?
Yes, they are indeed. This particular one, we've got the three single coils, a three-way selector, and instead of the usual 2-volume, 2-tone, I've got a master tone up here, and I've got volumes for each individual pickup. And I suppose the easiest way to explain what's going on here is that the middle pickup default is on all the time, unless you turn it off or blend it in. So with everything up, you've got both of these, middle and bridge, and then everything, and then middle and neck. But you can take that out and have the standard kind of bridge, middle, and neck.
Yeah. So when your middle pickup volume is down, the middle setting here is neck and bridge
just
together.
The two outside ones, yes.
Which that's a very versatile amount of sounds, isn't it, when you think about it?
It is, and on this particular guitar, it's been voiced very bright. And I suspect, I don't know this for sure, but I suspect that these are 1 meg pots.
By the way that they work.
The taper, and it's quite dramatic at the top end. And of course what that does give you is this really bright...
Yeah, I know when Dave Burlock reviewed them for Guitarist magazine, he did mention the Townsend Weller kind of sound with that, which he's harking back to another brand of guitar that's known for being very bright, that both Townsend and Weller used. So there is an element of that in that, which is nice to have.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that they specifically addressed a few issues that people had with the old guitars, like the centre block to stop feedback, the pickups are wax dipped where they didn't used to be, all that kind of thing.
Incidentally, the pickups, many of the Vox guitars in the 60s were made by the Echo factory in Italy, and these pickups have been modelled after those, but they've updated the sound so a bit more like today. Yeah,
so if they'd not stopped production, what they might be have evolved into. They've been able to put decades of kind of improvement in those things, haven't they? And
exactly.
Fast track it.
The guitar I've got, which is also a Bobcat, this is a V90 Bobcat. I've got these two soapbar pickups, but unlike, say, a Gibson P90, which has got regular screws with a bar magnet underneath, these are actually, each pole piece is a magnet, like on a Strat, but possibly more like the old staple pickups you get on an early Les Paul Black Beauty.
Oh yes,
where you had that Alnico pickup there and you had the P90 there. So they're a bit more like that. And I think it does give them more of a traditional single coil sound.
Right.
Because I know the neck pickup of a Black Beauty has a very, very clean sound, isn't it, if you played that. And I think these are more like that. So the inherent voice of the guitar is very clear, crystalline kind of sound.
They've sort of worked with the sort of body shape and that's inherent tone and compensated for what some might feel was lacking in high end.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what they've done. The control configuration on this guitar is pretty much what you'd expect, although it's slightly different in a very small way. The three-way toggle does exactly what you'd expect: bridge, both, neck. But here the control stack's been kind of rotated a bit, so where it's like that's the volume for the treble pickup, and that's the tone there. And I keep going to these two by mistake.
It's like that muscle memory thing.
But it doesn't take very long to get used to it. It's no different to changing to a different brand of guitar, is it? They're all a bit different. And then I do like the control. I like the control knobs. They're kind of a bit like a old radio knob or something like that,
They're
aren't they?
very much in the spirit of the overall design, aren't they?
Very much. I like the fact that the plasticware is white and not cream. That lends a slight difference.
Yeah. I'll tell you what I've noticed though about my binding. It's ever so slightly off-white, which I like. It's not been, hey, look, I'm vintage. You know, it's not that kind of thing. And it's beautifully finished. I mean, the fret ends, around the headstock.
They have been made very, very, very well indeed. In the review in Guitarist magazine, they did say this is a stack heel, so there's a join in there.
Right.
They weren't sure about the headstock, whether that's scarfed on or not. There is a volute behind the nut on both of these guitars.
I like that.
To strengthen it. And the tuners are very nice open-geared Grovers, and these are very good quality tuners.
That's true, actually. It would be easy to look at that and think, oh, well, they've obviously economised there, but these are Grovers. These are not playing by those rules at all.
No, you get them on high-end acoustics, don't you? That kind of tuner. Nice inlays in the fingerboard, celluloid, kind of pearloid.
Yes.
Look, medium fret.
Inside the F holes as well.
Yeah, that's
nice. Sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you.
No,
I was just enthusing about that.
No, they are very nice. What else would you say about the finish and everything?
Well, I mean, I think that a real perfectionist could probably go head to toe over this and not find anything to complain about.
I agree.
Speaking of finishes, actually, there is one other thing. These are available in black as well as what we have, the red and the sunburst.
Yeah. And also there are some custom finishes if you get the Bigsby option as well.
Oh, right.
There's a kind of custom version.
That's new, isn't it, I think?
Yeah. The hardware is very high quality. This trapeze tailpiece is nice. Nice tunematic style bridge, which goes into studs in the body. It's a very cool little package. You got the strap button there, as you'd expect. Very nice. The sunburst, the back of the headstock sunbursted, as indeed is the heel.
That's a nice three-colour sunburst, isn't it?
It is nice. It's an unusual one.
Yeah.
It's an unusual one. They kind of remind me of, well, the Italian guitars of the 60s. They did look a bit like this, and lots of the European guitars looked a bit like this.
So I thought I might just run through a couple of sounds. I'm still getting used to the layout. The middle pickup is off. I've just got the bridge pickup selected. Bit of dirt from this AC30 here in the background. The tone and volume wide open. It's going to be bright.
Yeah.
You know, that quite sort of specialist. Mind you, I think some of those Who records and things like Pictures of Lily and things like that, they've got real...
Without a doubt. It was really bright top end, crystalline kind of sound, wasn't it? Really, really.
I mean, and that helps drive an amp a bit, doesn't it, too?
I think especially if, like Townsend, and indeed Paul Weller, if you hit the guitar hard, it really it pushes it a little bit extra, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think so too. I mean... I can almost feel the hearing damage coming on. But if I just take the tone back a bit, about halfway maybe, then that completely recalibrates it. It's not muffly. I mean, a real serious volume as well, I think, standing in front of that might be still very bright. So if I've put the tone control right back up to flat out, and I'm just taking that off about 1/8 of a turn. In fact, better still, I'll play with it wide open, then take it back 1/8 of a turn. very fine adjustment.
Yeah, yeah.
But then I'm noticing that if I want to keep it like that and bring in the middle pickup, and I've sort of matched the settings, I suppose that sweetens things a bit while
Yeah, it
keeping the
does.
cut. I mean, I might have used the phrase earlier, but things weren't so set in stone.
No, they
back
weren't.
when the original
They
Echo
weren't. They weren't. And it's very
versions
interesting
came
that
out.
because adding that middle pickup in, you retain the treble, but you add something else to the bottom of it.
Yeah.
And I like that. And I'd imagine that middle pickup might be the kind of secret weapon on that guitar.
Yes, in fact, you know, one thing that I haven't done is tried it on its own. That's everything wide open. The neck and middle are off.
Yeah.
Just the middle with everything up. And out of interest, what I might like to try, if you'll indulge me for a minute,
yeah.
of doing the opposite. These two on the outside,
Yeah.
the middle pickup off. There's definitely a character, and I think that it would be a mistake to pick this up in a shop or wherever and expect it to sound like 330 or something like that.
Exactly. That sound you had then was a bit Jimmy Page-ish.
Yeah, I like that actually.
Yeah, he often. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Or whatever, yeah.
Exactly that kind of. Page was great. We've said this before. Page was great at finding odd sounds that sat brilliantly in a track.
Yeah.
And that would do that. You'd find a place for that in a track really nicely.
Yeah.
But I like the fact that you've got a guitar that you expect might be one thing, yet it's giving you something completely different.
Yes, I mean, with some, you know, you get to know the sort of sweet spot on the controls.
Yeah.
And I reckon you could get the traditional sounds from it,
Yeah.
maybe with even like a boost pedal or something like
Well,
that. But,
exactly. Well, we're going straight into our amps here. But this guitar, sonically, it's got a bit of balls to it. It's not as bright as that, but the voice is similar, isn't it?
yes, yeah.
There's a family resemblance there.
Well, it's
isn't there?
almost as if there's a sort of a similar top end, but that's got more
a little
happening
bit, yeah,
under
exactly.
it.
It's a bit like you've pulled a bit of your middle pickup in,
Yeah.
but that's already there, like it. So yeah. Everything full up. I'll go to the middle.
Yeah,
That's an
I'm
interesting
getting
sound.
more
Yeah,
of a-
big fat. It doesn't seem as ballsy though. It seems like it's mellowed a bit. I mean,
Yes.
in terms of its output, it doesn't seem to be quite so.
Right.
That's not like another guitar I can think of.
No,
It doesn't sound like a Casino. It doesn't sound like a 335.
No, and I like the idea that perhaps you could get that if you wanted to, but you've got this
Yeah.
other choice, as long as you're not someone that insists on having all the knobs on 10 all the time, as I used to be, you know, many years back.
Yeah, I think. That's nice. That's almost like the big grand piano sound at the end of Day in the Life. This is huge. It's living its own life.
That sounds very responsive. I like the way that responds more the way
Yeah.
a slightly lower impedance pot might to my ears, but
You could violin quite easily with that. When you hit it it responds
Yeah.
really well.
I mean, I'm getting a bit of Weller, and I'm also getting a touch of Abbey Road. If you know what I mean. Yep.
I won't play any more.
And other similar riffs which are available.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, lovely.
Yeah.
It's a good sounding guitar with a voice of its own, very much like that as well.
Yeah.
And I'd say that their natural thing is, as you said, it's a 60s-y kind of classic vibe to them, isn't there?
Yes.
There's a thing. And when you think of Brian Jones, the sounds that he had on some of those early Stones records, they weren't the normal sounds that everybody else was getting. They were a bit different.
Yeah, everything was a bit more fluid, wasn't it? People would come up with crazy sounds, and things sort of became a bit more universalised, if there's such a word.
Yeah, they did, because once people started making replacement pickups, they made essentially two styles, the humbucker that we all know and the single coil that we all know. Later on they got to doing other styles, but largely that's why all guitars have mostly the same type of pickups these days. And it's lovely to have something that's not cookie cutter. It's a bit different.
Yeah.
They're very nice. We should
Everything
play
feels very
something,
solid.
shouldn't we?
Yes.
We're ended on a straight E for some reason. Yeah, they're good sounds, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're good sounds. You could actually see old Bo Diddley using that kind of sound, couldn't you, very much?
Yeah, you might have liked these. I mean, they're sort of maybe cut this bit off and that bit off, but apart from that, it'd be perfect for him.
But they're really nice. I mean, in the UK, their RRP is about £12.95, that kind of.
Yeah, though I had a little look
pounds.
around online and saw a few for a shade under 1200, and that's with the case.
Yeah, they've got nice hard cases, plush-lined hard cases. There's very little else we can say about them. They don't do what they say on the tin in a way, do they?
Yeah, I think it's very important to take a bit of time and keep an open mind with it.
Yeah.
They're not 330 or 335 clones.
Definitely not. Definitely not. They're definitely their own thing. And Vox always were. They did their own thing.
Yeah, based on their own heritage.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So there you have it. These are the Bobcats. They're very nicely made, medium priced, I suppose you'd call them.
Yes, I mean, I know that there are sort of versions of this type of guitar available for less, but they're not the same thing as these.
No, they're not. These are characterful, and I think that's what Vox have always been in their guitars and their amps. They have a character that they not necessarily like to stamp on it, but naturally comes out of their product. So very nice guitars indeed. All right, well, we've got another couple of guitars to show you now, and these are totally different ballpark. They don't look anything like these, they don't sound anything like these, they don't work anything like these. So give us a couple of seconds and we'll come back to you with those. We did tell you that these guitars would look and sound rather different, didn't we?
Absolutely. I was hoping that that last little bit might have reminded you of your Synthax days.
Thank you, Richard, for reminding me. Thank you. These are very, very different. These are still bivox, but they're called Giulietta, which we wonder whether that also harks back to the Italian times.
And I get that vibe looking at the design as well, actually.
Very much. I was thinking more like the German guitars that the Beatles used in the early days, and lots of the British guys used because they couldn't get American guitars. And the Italians fulfilled a very similar role with some of those guitars, which were great actually.
And Django's guitars.
Yeah, exactly. This is a Giulietta VGA3PS. And it's very sweet, and it looks very, very simple. And actually, it is very, very simple. It's a spruce top, mahogany back and mahogany neck. And I've got a piezo bridge here, when you can see the metal bit under that would be the pickup, and it's wired to a couple of controls under here. I've got a straight volume rotary and straight tone rotary. There's an active and passive switch there, just switches to either active or passive. I've got it active at the moment, so we're running through some little speakers here, not into a guitar amp. And there's also a recessed grub screw here that you can set to kind of roll off some of the bottom end.
The extreme rumble, yeah, which is, I think, is a really, really good idea.
Yeah, because sometimes, I mean, this has got a really nice sound as it's set. I think there's a nice warm bottom end and a nice light, crispy top end.
All over the place.
But it's not booming all over the place.
And I suppose with the passive switch, you could have your own pet preamp, or signal chain that you might want to use just going through the pickup.
Because a lot of acoustic guitarists run into an acoustic pedal, don't they?
Yes,
That adds you up your front end to
more
it.
and more of those now, don't you?
Yeah, but it's a very sweet guitar. It feels quite small. I mean, for an arch top, which it is, you can see it's the top is arched. It's a small body guitar, and I love that shaping at the end of the fingerboard.
It's a really nice touch,
sweet.
actually,
It's a really nice touch, and they do look very, very nice. Very simple, simple binding. Nothing overly flash about it at all. There's a bit of a heel cap there, which is quite nice. These have got enclosed tuners, unlike the open Grovers of the last ones. And as I say, they're made in Indonesia. And this thing here is a string mute. Very often with this kind of guitar and this kind of trapeze and floating bridge, these give a sympathetic rattle.
Yes, which you don't
that can interfere with
want.
stuff. No, that dulls that down. Very simple idea. When you unstring the guitar, it might drop off though, so be careful.
Yes, yeah.
We know that because I broke a string on that and it did drop off.
And it fell off.
Yes, it did.
We did find it, and it's back on there.
This also has a USB port there, which you can plug in to a wall like you would do a phone, a smartphone. And 15 minutes of charging will give you 8 hours of battery life.
That's really something, actually.
It's a nice thing to do because it's a little bit more probably environmentally friendly. You're not chucking batteries away all the time.
Yes.
Which is quite nice. So there, and it's got the stair step kind of pick guard, which that's lovely. It's a bit like some of those 30s guitars, New York inspired guitars. Very simple. This
Stylish.
is a nice simple neck, simple dotted neck.
I feel like you might be using the word simple a lot here as sort of revenge on me for my reference to the Synthax, because this is not simple.
No, this isn't simple.
And I'm going to try and talk through it in a way that makes it clear of what the guitar can do. I don't think we'll have time to go into every single thing that it can do. But
I don't think we could.
I think there are quite a few things in common with the construction, though I think we might be looking at some different woods here. Is it laminated maple, do you think?
Well, it looks like it might be actually, yeah.
Yeah. Like the other guitars, it is beautifully finished throughout, but you'll see there are two controls here which you would correctly guess were a master volume and a master tone, and they work in all settings of the guitar. As far as providing power goes, I'll hold this up. Hopefully that will be visible enough for you to see. Oh, there's the synth sound happening again. Okay. The 4 AA batteries go in here. So that powers the synth and simulated different acoustic modelling. It is modelling. You've got banjo, you've got sitar. I think the point really here is to look at the sounds that you can achieve with it. You can save presets, you can edit them. You can use what looks like the pickup selector switch to select the banks of presets. So for instance, I know that on the 8th click of this knob on the top here, that I will get that lovely Moog. I am expecting Tom Sawyer by Rush to start with that. But if I just go back through a couple of these, I think we're fairly clear. That kind of thing. I think that's non-copyright. I did intervals and they didn't have that on the original. And as I say, the volume, there is an acoustic tone. So the volume and the tone control work even on the synth type sounds or the modelled sounds. What do we have now? We have small bodied acoustic guitars, large bodied acoustic guitars, nylon strings, sitar, banjo.
12 string, did you say?
Yes, I can find the 12-string sound. Like Nev's guitar, this isn't plugged into an amp. This is direct, and it really does kick out a good solid line level. And it will run headphones too to the guitar. So if you want to practice sitar in the dead of night,
best time to practice it, I'd say.
Would be for me. Yeah, absolutely. There are a couple of other sounds that I could run through.
There's overdrive and reverb on there as well, isn't there?
Yes, you can configure this to add drive or reverb.
Right.
What do we got here?
That's
quite
a nice
reverb, isn't it,
yeah.
actually? Yeah.
Is that nylon's guitar as well?
I'm not sure because it doesn't tell you, and I
Okay.
think you just get used to it by playing through the preset. But it certainly, I'm finding it quite pleasing. I mean, I think that we've got to be really honest about this, and some of the sounds are better than others, and I think if it sounds good to you, then it's good, and I quite like that as a nylon string type sound. I think there are certain. I mean, that preset obviously has some drive. I think it's quite a nice response. There's another well-known manufacturer, isn't there, that's come out with something that will do sounds that you would not expect. Okay, so that preset has drive in it. So I can control that from the guitar. Some of those jazz sounds that are just beginning to break up, you know. What else have we got? Let's try the middle position. That's another bank of sounds. Sounds a bit neck humbuckerish to me. organ.
Yeah.
And not organ.
That harks back to the old Vox organ guitar of the 60s.
Yeah. I think that you've really got to learn how to fly this over a period of
Yeah.
time, and I fully realise that I'm giving it slightly short shrift, basically. But there are, you know, there's the possibility there to save your own sounds and combinations of sounds.
Yeah.
There are some very obvious things like the sitar and the banjo and things like that, which are really extreme markers of where you might go with it, aren't they?
Yeah,
like with an effects unit.
And if you were recording that and, you know, sitting here listening to the sounds in a very, very exposed way, you might say that they weren't totally authentic. But I bet if you played that banjo sound in a mix, in a track, nobody would know that wasn't a banjo, and nobody wouldn't know it was an electric sitar. And I think that's where things like that come into their own.
Yes, yeah, I agree.
In the mix, it's always in the mix that they work well.
Yeah. So there are various ways that you can employ those sounds and blend them, and these switchings.
There's no readout on there, is there, to see
No,
what
there's
you've
a
got?
tuner, and there's an effect button where you can switch the effects on and off,
Oh,
as well as adjust their level.
Okay.
So
Okay.
you really, you'd have to spend a bit of time with it and have a play around with it.
Yeah.
I don't think that Vox are trying to say this is how guitars will be from now on, and everyone will laugh at the notion of all the other classics in the future. I just think it's a bit of fun that you can potentially come up with some interesting
and I like that.
sounds.
I do like that. You know, you need innovation. You know,
Yes.
you do need an innovation, and this is very interesting. It's a very interesting approach. This guitar is really sweet, really simple. Its natural sound is really nice. There's a plenty of warmth in the bottom end, and there's plenty of shimmer in the top.
Yeah.
And you know, if I play that, in fact, there's almost a 12-stringiness to that. It's really nice. The guitar's lovely to play. It feels nice and small. It's got a big old chunky neck, a bit like those 50s guitars, but it's really, really comfortable. The actions are nice on both of them.
Yeah.
They're very easy to play, and they're just quite, this is a cute little guitar.
They are. They're really beautifully made and set up, and they've got some interesting ideas, you know. I mean, that I think is a really practical thing. It looks cool. And you can kind of see what they're aiming at stylistically with the way that these are finished, can't you? This is much more of a jazz vibe, I suppose.
Yeah.
I had a look online for prices, street prices, and what I found was as low as £6.40 and a few pence for that, though it varies with finishes. This comes out at a little more. The cheapest I saw it was just under £7. Which seemed quite low, actually, when I looked at a few more. Seemed to be cheaper in black. The sunburst like this was closer to £8, though I did find it for more than that in a couple of places as well. So I think it's one of those where, you know, this costs slightly more than that because it's got more stuff in it. So
they're pretty fair prices, I'd say, especially for this. I really did like this guitar. I really do like this guitar. It's fun to play. It's a fun guitar. Yes,
and I mean, and this is fun with the sounds and everything. And it was quite fun playing with a synth sound. You know, apologies if you didn't like that sound. I thought it was good fun.
Absolutely,
but that's a serious instrument. Yeah, really, it
is. It's a nice guitar. Really, and the other two, the Bobcats that we played as well, like all of these guitars, they've got a character.
Yes,
and you don't always get that with guitars these days. There's so many guitars that kind of cookie cutter.
They've been a bit homogenised into a sort of shared ideal, haven't they, to a certain extent? And I like that ideal, but it's also good to have some variety, isn't it?
It is, it is. But they're really interesting guitars, and they offer you something that you can't really get anywhere else. Especially that 3-pickup Bobcat. I can't think of another guitar that's like that on the market.
No.
Even the sounds of the soapbar V90, they're not the same as the sounds of the standard P90 that you get on other guitars. So they all had their own voice. They all worked in a idiosyncratic but interesting way. But, you know, as I said, go back to the 60s, you know, the people who use Vox guitars, they look different to everything else. They always did, and they always wanted to be different. And that's great.
A flamboyance and sort of light-heartedness, if you like.
Very nice. One thing we didn't mention, the scale length on these is 24 3/4. The scale length on the Bobcats is 25, so that's kind of halfway house between the two norms, if you like.
It falls right in with the sort of design ethos, doesn't it, really?
It does,
yeah.
it does, yeah. But they're very nice, very interesting guitars. I hope you've enjoyed our little demo and some of the sounds that we got for you.